Hi everyone, Dream the New Team Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Polyphia record, Remember That You Will Die. This is a brand new LP from Texas rock outfit Polyphia, the highly anticipated follow-up to their New Levels, New Devils record, which was packed with progressive, groovy, and mostly instrumental music, with a lot of stellar and flashy interplay between the bass, drums, and guitar, with subtle notes of R&B coming through on some of the melodies and chord progressions, some electronic music influence coming out of the beats, some metal influence coming through on some of the riffs and guitar tones, and of course the more technical aspects of the band's music makes the math rock kids go nuts. Now, while I didn't love this LP, it did have a lot of fantastic highlights on it, and it did leave me looking forward to whatever the band was going to do next, especially since they had a few years to kind of incubate since 2018. And given the group's collective talents, a follow-up record really could have been anything stylistically or sonically. But I was kind of disappointed to find that this new project from them felt sort of like a watered-down take on their efforts from the last album, complete with some vocal guests who I think were supposed to help expand the appeal of the band, though I'm not really sure if that's what ended up happening in practice, like with Sophia Black's cutesy, sped up, and warbly refrains throughout the track ABC, which just makes me like worry about the TikTokification of music. And I don't like that because I don't typically worry about that sort of thing because I'm not a fucking boomer. Yeah, I imagine this track sounds like hyperpop to people that find the genre hyper annoying, hideous, overprocessed, and obnoxious. There's also Kill Station featured on Momentum Mori, who brings these really generic emo rap guy vocals that somehow sound like a toned down Tom McDonald at points. Of course, that I'm not really into hearing with my ear holes. The band sort of scratches a similar itch with Snot on the song Fuck Around and Find Out. His flows sadly feel a bit awkward over this lumbering beat, though I imagine that would be the case for 99% of rappers on this track. And when he does manage to get some flow, momentum, or melody going on the track, you can't even enjoy it because you have these chirping guitars that are syncing in with his vocals, sort of competing with his voice in the mix. It's like the band wants to have vocal guests on some of these tracks, but they don't want to give them the space to really shine. Like Lil West, for example, at the end of Chimera feels absolutely pointless. Why is he even on the track if he's not going to, play a primary role in it? The most prominent guest on the entire LP, though, has to be Chino Moreno of Deftones fame on song Bloodbath, which just sounds like a poor attempt at a Deftones song. Polyphia tries, but they can't quite operate calmly or steadily enough to really complement Chino's voice. And it's the solos, crushing riffs, and drum fills at the very end of the track that end up being the best part of the whole thing. The best guests on this project, in my opinion, are the fellow players, like Anomaly on the track, The Audacity, which is this amazing jazz rock cut. Such a great piece of fusion. The interplay between the guitars, bass, keys, and drums is just otherworldly. Really a show of what the band could be doing if they were truly trying to push the envelope. And then there's Steve Vai on the closing track, Ego Death. And by no means am I a Vai fan, but he fits perfectly on this Polyphia song. Just kind of seems like the place for him to be, I guess. The grooves and licks and natural precision played throughout the track are just all on 11. Plus that moody Floydian bridge on the track is fantastic, shows how much versatility the band has in their tool belt when they want to lean into it. Really climactic ending for the track too, really climactic ending for the entire album. There are a few other cuts that I think could have snugly fit into the New Levels, New Devils track list pretty well, be that Neurotica or Reverie. These cuts, again, I think could go toe-to-toe with any number of songs from that record. You've got the great beats and clean production, you've got the guitar work. It sounds like Rat-a-tat on crack. But then on top of that, there were a few instrumental risks that I think led to some mixed results, like with the pop soul horns that play throughout much of the song Genesis, which I think are kind of an aesthetic clash, even if they do make sense with the chord progressions the band formulated for this cut. However, the whistling, glitchy edits and thin, plucky, flamenco-inspired guitars throughout Playing God actually go over really well. And while there are many cuts that I would take over it from New Levels, New Devils, it's still one of the better cuts here, and I wouldn't mind hearing more from the band in this vein. But yeah, unfortunately, that is this mixed bag of a record. It's a little all over the place. Things really do kind of take a nosedive once we get around those tracks that have a lot of vocal guests, unfortunately. If that's going to be something the band continues to lean into with this amount of focus in the future, they're going to need to be pickier about who they bring on and how they showcase them, and figure out a way to play a more supportive role to who they are having on an album, or figure out an equation to make them function within the noodly chaos surrounding them a bit better and more sensibly. I'm feeling a light to decent 5 on this one. Tran?
Zishin, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Polyphia album review of Forever.